I am not a parent yet, but this year I will be a husband. The thought of how I might raise my children crosses my mind often. What kinds of clothes would we buy for them? How would we facilitate their self-expression? How do we expect to help them succeed in a world we feel like we still know so little about? But when watching a movie or series, and especially when playing games, I often think, when would I let my kids watch or play this? It's a valid question. Most kids are limited in what they can or can't see. Although nowadays it seems like parents don't care as much. I want to know what psychological impacts video games and other forms of media do produce. I'm by no means a psychologist, so we'll be looking at the research published by experts and keeping an eye out for how this research has changed over the years. So brace yourself, because your brain is about to swell up 3 times its size with how much girthy knowledge is about to get injected directly into it. So if you were born in the last 18-ish years, you might not realize how chill people are with darker things now. Because every generation going back since the 2000s had parents that were constantly terrified of what their kids were into. When I was a kid, my Yu-Gi-Oh cards got thrown away because a bunch of parents became convinced they were satanic. So with that in mind, it probably wouldn't surprise you that age restrictions were heavily enforced when I was growing up, at least until I was around 14. That was my experience, but the questions around music, video games, and the concept of TV as a whole have been gnawing issues for uptight parents since each of these things were invented. And it was a big enough issue that there would be criticisms of these mediums in other mediums.
Don't worry, Mom. I know all about cannibalism. I saw it on TV.
See? It's okay. You saw it on the television.
So during this period of the 80s and 90s, this fear over Satanism and violence in media was in the forefront of a lot of people's minds, especially in the US, but it certainly bled into other countries. That included my home of South Africa, which is funny because there were definitely more important things going on here during the 80s and 90s. But the research reflects the bias of the time. In Adolescents and the Media, Medical and Psychological Impact by Victor Strasburger, the takeaway from the research seems quite firm against violent video games. Strasburger writes, "The literature on media violence is compelling and clear. Aggression is a learned behavior, and young children are particularly vulnerable, although they may not display evidence of being affected until they reach adolescence or young adulthood." Isn't that convenient? Between the time you play a video game as a child and the time you become an adult, if you do anything violent, it was the game's fault. He also quotes a critic who equates entertainment with guns, writing, "The entertainment industry alone cannot be blamed for this, any more than guns alone, and not the people who pull their triggers, can be blamed for gun-related deaths. But the connections are inescapable. If there were fewer guns, fewer people would be shot to death. If there were fewer violent images, fewer people might be moved to seek violent solutions." This statement is insane for so many reasons. First, yeah, you can't blame anyone other than the people who commit these crimes, but you can't say access to entertainment is the same as access to weapons. Human beings have been violent towards one another for as long as we've existed, but video games and movies have existed for a blip in our history. Yet these are worth more scrutiny than our access to weapons that can kill 10 people in a minute? Anyway, the overview also looks into research on media's effect on sexuality, and specifically sexual violence, where it concludes that if people aren't talking about sex and movies are all people have to learn about it from, then yeah, they might have some bad takeaways. I think this is a fair observation. Sex has always been a taboo and is still an extremely sensitive topic for many people. So if some kid is never told what consent is, but they see some guy forcing a girl to kiss him in a movie, they might think that's just how it is. It would be naive to say movies never depict good guys as pushy or slightly rapey. There are a lot of movies, especially before the 2010s, where the hero is allowed to behave in a pushy way. So there is definitely some credibility behind this statement. I also think that more than violence, the sexual side of our brain is a lot easier to influence with visual stimulation. Just think of all the weird fetishes that exist because someone once saw something that tickled their brain in just the right way.
This better not awaken anything in me.
This research was published in 1995 in a very different media landscape. The things we as a society are exposed to on a daily basis has changed. It's important to remember that this is what the question is really about. Not whether or not something is okay for children, of course, not everything has to be for children, but rather whether or not it's okay for the health of society. When we consider the question from this perspective, we can rarely see the full picture. In our beautiful, futuristic, and developed modern era, no one is really asking whether or not video games make people violent. They aren't asking whether or not metal will make you satanic. But they are asking whether or not it will make you trans or gay.
Fucking pronouns!
They just swap the words around to take advantage of the same issue. So if we all disagree with the accusation that games make people violent, and most people don't see exploring issues of identity in media as a problem, then is media just absolutely perfect? Our parents were wrong, we were right, and as we become parents, we don't need to worry about what our kids are doing. New research has come out this year that's a little more optimistic towards games, pointing out the good and bad, but also importantly clarifying that the way someone responds to games depends more on who they are as a person rather than what the game is like.
Fuck you! I hope your whole family has a nice Christmas!
I'd also like to point out that nobody is going to play a game that they don't want to. Playing a hentai game isn't going to make you more likely to be a gooner. You're playing a hentai game because you already are a gooner. The contents of games and movies and shows haven't changed all that much since the phenomenon of spinning controversies out of them was at its worst. Games still involve fighting and violence. Movies and series still have sex scenes. But the way we talk about and access these things have changed. The internet changed things in unexpected ways. We got online multiplayer, then we got DLC. These things have developed into gambling and gaming predators. We don't need to worry about the movies and TV shows kids watch because they're just watching innocent little YouTube videos. Everything that comes out seems to have a deal with some gambling app or wants you to spend more money on it than you need to. We don't need to make everything kid-friendly just because there are probably kids there. So if this is the wrong question, what is the right question? Well, I have a few. First, do video games act as a gateway to gambling? So loot boxes are pretty much dead, but we still have gambling-like features like those found in gacha games and constant pushes towards shops. On a side note, remember when main menus were load game, new game, settings, bonus, exit, and not play, store, battle pass, exit, with a million other reminders to spend your money? A 2026 research article published in The Lancet found that a lot of the monetization methods used by video game publishers might engage with the same psychological vulnerabilities that gambling does. The researchers also suggest the possibility that engaging with these systems can promote gambling participation and escalation, which isn't a definitive statement, but it does tell us that the gambling question is more worthwhile to ask than the violence question. My next question is, how does gaming affect our social lives? I have a strong personal bias on this one because during the lockdown, gaming was the single best way to socialize. But I can also see the way social features can become predatory. For example, there may not be realistic gore or graphic sex in a game like Roblox, but there are other people. What many parents don't understand is that even though games like Roblox and Fortnite are supposed to just be gaming experiences shared with other players, that isn't what everyone is drawn to them for. But if you're watching this, I'm going to assume that you're savvy enough to understand what it is that I'm talking about, and that you've heard of this phenomenon before. People try to lure kids into dangerous situations, starting with these games. But it isn't just the threat of creeps that parents have to worry about. Anyone can say anything to you. It could be insults, harassment, or indoctrination. You might look at Call of Duty and think, well, sure, it's violent, but my kid can handle it, which is probably true. Despite having an age restriction of 18, a large chunk of COD's audience is younger than that. The issue isn't COD. The issue is the other people playing COD. Imagine you've taken your kid to a public playground. You sit on a nearby bench and watch them climb the jungle gym and swing on the monkey bars, but then some grown man starts swinging alongside your kid. He's talking to your kid. You can't hear what he's saying, it could be anything. Now, would you just shrug it off? It's a public park, so that guy is allowed to be there. The playground is there to be played on, and the guy is swinging on the monkey bars, so it must be fine, right? Or would you get closer? Possibly even talk to the guy and ask him what he wants? I would probably stop whatever it is that this guy is doing. But online, through headsets and in-game comms, we're all constantly exposed to the words and opinions of others. Online games are very much like public spaces, but we don't really treat them like that. We don't avoid strangers, we don't watch the way we behave like we would in a public space. People are way too eager to just express the worst sides of themselves in online video games. I'm not saying social elements in games are bad. In fact, I think it's great. I love the innovations in online games that have made games feel social. I also definitely do not think that we should be censoring games or softening the edges for kids who, according to the age rating, shouldn't be playing them anyway. But what I am trying to say is that even if the content of something appears to be okay, or you don't think it's too harsh for your kid, there are always things to watch out for. But this video isn't about people who use games to harass or kidnap children, at least not entirely. This is just one way that the social aspect of video games can affect children, but the effects of video games as a social platform is under-researched. However, one research paper published in 2026 points out some of the aspects that make the social element dicey. For one, FOMO. Having the best skins, cosmetics, win rate, or logging in for all of the daily rewards can all be subtle jabs to make the game addictive. It isn't enough for a game to be fun. They have to seek out little ways to keep you coming back. But this has further implications than just FOMO. We are substituting parts of our lives for weaker, smaller, often more expensive versions in the game. I'm not saying that socializing with friends over a game isn't the same as socializing or that it isn't healthy. I'm suggesting that condensing everything around the experience of purchasing cosmetics and being competitive can't be entirely healthy for us. Two things don't happen in an ordinary social situation. We don't get annoyed or let down by our friends if they can't do something as proficiently as we can. And we don't get angry at strangers for doing the same activity as us. Two things that happen often in competitive multiplayer games. Sometimes in the pursuit of being the best in the game, whether it's with our competitive rank or with our cosmetics, we forget how much we're actually neglecting the same sides of ourselves in real life. We want to grow in the game, but maybe we don't put as much effort into us growing as people. And my last question is, are games even a relaxing pastime anymore? Okay, so games have always been able to stress people out. Just missing a high score, getting sent to an ancient checkpoint, or losing to a particularly strong boss are all ways that games can stress us out. But there is a point now where the gaming ecosystem has created a perfect environment for real, actual anxiety. I think this too lies in the competitive play. It's in the name, competitive. But more than that, the feeling of losing out on your rank, if it becomes important enough to you, can feel like you're about to get fired from your job. You're also influenced and affected by your teammates and the opposition. You have to perform, or else. This study from 2022 found that, believe it or not, losing takes you out of your flow state. But they also found that winning doesn't even feel that good if you are anxious and competitive enough. Winning doesn't put you back into your flow state. It just kind of keeps you playing.
It's bad when you can't even be happy about a win. Literally. Wins don't even feel satisfying. It just feels like, finally, about damn time. But it's not like, yeah, we won. Hell yeah, we did so good.
And I think even if you're like me and you don't really play ranked in anything, you either are or have seen the type of person that flips out on their team even while winning. Another study looking into the anxiety that esports athletes deal with concludes that competition anxiety is present and severe enough that esports athletes should seek out the same psychological pressure coping mechanisms as physical athletes. To some, this might not come as a surprise. But I wonder, how much of that psychological pressure does someone in Grandmaster or Marvel Rivals experience? Because I suspect, as low as the stakes are, it is somewhat comparable. I don't think a casual match of football between two local clubs is anywhere near the same amount of pressure as a football World Cup. Whereas I do think the pressure of high-ranked competitive play is slightly comparable to an esports World Cup. When I first started trying to get closer with Druzy, I knew that she played Valorant. So I tried it. I never really liked playing with keyboard and mouse, so that was new to me. The pressure of that competitive environment was also new to me. So if I was ever the last person alive or things were getting down to the wire, I found myself experiencing some real nervous behavior, even shaking sometimes. Once I got into it, got comfortable, and had been playing it for some time, that never really fully went away. Games can be intense. Gaming ends up becoming stressful, like a second job. Between maintaining relationships with your coworkers, aka your friends, meeting deadlines, your daily and weekly missions, and keeping up with competitors, ensuring you have the most recent or best equipment and cosmetics, it might as well be a second job. Now, if you're anything like me, you're screaming, "That's why single-player games are superior." But if you're anything like my fiance, you're probably thinking, yeah, all of that is true, and that's why it's fun. So if gaming is addictive, stressful, and a massive time and money sinkhole, how can we still say it's fun? Obviously, because these beautiful things have something compelling underneath all of that. But my concern is that we're leaning more and more towards the game existing for the in-game store, rather than the in-game store merely supporting the existence of the game, and we get less out of it. When complaining about this very thing to my fiance, I said something along the lines of, anyone would rather earn things in-game for free rather than just pay for them. And she said, no. She would rather spend money on something than have it be a reward for in-game skill or effort. So there are definitely perspectives out there that are more agreeable with games as they are now. So let's get the perspective of someone who deals with all of this on a daily basis. How do video games psychologically affect someone like Druzy, where it's her source of income, it's her hobby, and it's what she does to relax? Before we get into interviewing Druzy, I just wanted to remind you guys to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before July, and we are currently at 627, I think. So if you guys are enjoying the video, why not subscribe? So as I'm asking Druzy these questions, I'm going to be throwing the questions on the screen, and you guys can answer along in the comments. Okay, so my first question is, do you ever find your heart rate increasing while playing games?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, especially in competitive games. When you have really bad teammates.
So then, does that upset you? Do you find yourself getting upset with games?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, bro. Hate this game.
Do you find that it's mostly because of the teammates or because of the game itself? Do you feel angry like at the game?
But it entirely depends on what game you're playing. For me, I mostly play competitive games, so my heart rate increases because of my teammates, but it, like I said, it also depends on what game you're playing. If you're playing like a really hard platformer game, you could be getting mad at yourself.
So you think it isn't exclusive to online multiplayer games?
No, I don't think it's exclusive.
Okay. Do you ever feel tired or drained from playing games?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And would you say that that's exclusive to online multiplayer games?
Well, you see, again, I think it depends on the game. I play Marvel Rivals for a living, and I say I get Marvel Rivals mush brain when I have to I play too long and then I think too hard and then I just get tired. But I know when you were playing Exit 8, you were getting really drained from playing.
That's true.
So it just entirely depends on the game and the person playing the game.
Have you ever finished a gaming session and thought you just straight up didn't enjoy that?
Yes. Oh my god. And I always say the people who work the whole day and then they come home and they play a competitive game and then it's just loss after loss after loss. How are they gonna enjoy that? Surely not.
Yeah, and one thing I talk about in the video is kind of how it feels like a second job, which I know is a popular comparison that hasn't just been made by me, but I think that's really damning, I think especially to online multiplayer games, because I feel personally, no matter how frustrating a single player game is, it wouldn't ever feel like a second job the same way.
The thing is though, it like I said, it also depends entirely on the person. Like for me, I like getting good at an online game and aim training and feeling like I'm improving and just working really hard at it. There's something rewarding in that.
That's the appeal, yeah.
That's the appeal, exactly.
Do you feel like the negative emotions associated with online multiplayer games are different from those in single player games? And if they do share negative emotions, are they at the same intensity?
I think it's definitely different. And I think it's way more intense online. But that's also because you're playing with other people and those people might not be as good as you.
It's also...
And that's frustrating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I feel like there's different stakes involved as well.
Yeah, exactly.
If your rank is up to these other people now.
Exactly. 100%.
I didn't deserve to D-rank that game, chat. Fuck this guy. I hate you. I hate you so much, whoever you are. I actually hate you. You've made an enemy today. Fuck this guy. I'm diamond now, chat, because of him.
You would say that it's different emotions.
Because with a single player game, it's like, okay, if I fail this level or if I die, I can just try again. In an online multiplayer game, there is no trying again. You either win that game or lose that game.
Do you think you get more upset than you should at games?
I think I get the normal level of upset, as most other people do. Yeah.
I would agree. In fact, I would say that you would never break a controller. And you would break controllers.
No.
So putting it that way, I think as
I don't
upset as you
slam
get,
my desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just yell a lot.
Yeah. With that in mind, do you think the gaming environment with its monetization, exposure to strangers, and stress is still a healthy way for people, and kids specifically, if you want to make it about kids, to spend their time? I
actually do. It helps so much with teamwork, coordination, literally all of those things I think is so good for kids. The things I learned was mostly from gaming growing up. Also a way for kids to socialize if they can't make friends in real life, you know?
I agree with all of that. I think people kind of overblow the negative sides of games and they underappreciate the positive sides of games.
Definitely.
I think for me though, gaming, great, excellent, wonderful for kids and for adults, but the online aspects and the anxiety that gaming can create, I would rather steer them away from that.
Really?
Competitive game.
I disagree. But that's because I'm a competitive gamer.
That's it. Yeah. Which I think your opinion on it means more then because you're in it. I'm not in it. I'm standing on the outside going, this looks fucking terrible. Okay, so I mentioned in the video, I told you this yesterday, that you have a weird stance on, well, weird from...
have a weird stance on it though.
Weird from my perspective. Okay. Which is any opinion that isn't your own opinion. It's oh, that's weird. How do you feel about gaming monetization?
I like it. If it's a free game, I am all for monetization. If it's a game that I paid for and then still have to buy skins in it, then I'm like, no thank you.
Okay.
But I like the best of both worlds. I like having to work for something in order to get it, and I like just having to buy it if I want to buy it.
I think that's a lot more reasonable than I made it sound. Let that be on the record. Because I do think a lot of people will agree with the sentiment that, oh, if it's free, whatever. One more reminder to subscribe if you have enjoyed the video up until now. Oh, and follow Druzy on Twitch. Yeah, big time. I'm gonna throw a very insanely fucking funny clip of her right here.
God, my nuts are so small, chat.
God, that's so funny.
So what has all of this taught me? Well, first of all, I don't want my kids to be little assholes throwing out slurs online. I also don't want them to think gaming is the only hobby they can have. I don't want them to become addicted to it. So my suggestion is a simple one. I just want to know what they're doing. Not in an overly protective, hovering sort of way, but in a sincerely interested and invested sort of way. I want to even participate. I'm a gamer, I can keep up with the youngsters, you know what I mean? I think it's easy to just trust your kids to always make good decisions, but they don't. It comes down to what we cultivate. My kids don't have to like what I like, but I do want them to enjoy things of substance. I want them to have an eye for quality, and I want them to be able to tell when a game is just there for them to spend money. It might be wishful thinking, but I'd like to be able to keep up with what they're into, to understand it and any pitfalls that there might be. Unfortunately, I think it is that exact kind of thinking that other parents wanted, but when they saw what their kids were into, it was new and scary, and other people were telling them that what their kids liked was evil. Then that generation of kids grew up, and now we have this prevailing thinking that kids will just be into what interests them, and looking out for some harm is paranoid and stupid. But the obstacle in our path at the moment is simply that the kids have nothing. Now, we probably won't think things are satanic necessarily, but we should be aware of the dangers we put ourselves into. I say ourselves and not our kids, because we aren't immune to the psychological effects that gaming can have just because we're older. So we need some solutions too. Don't let gaming be all you do, and please, for the love of all things good, don't just play comp. We need things to help us relax, and games can be great for that. So don't let it devolve into another job. If you enjoyed this video and found it somewhat interesting, you can let us know by leaving a like. Agree or disagree with anything we've discussed today? Let us know in the comments. If you want to see more weird, tangential content like this, subscribe. Sometimes we look at movies, sometimes games, sometimes both, and sometimes neither. It all mixes around here in the Slimepool. Bye.